Go.
Did you know every day 20% of water is wasted?
UK network. So there's 4 of us here. We've also got a photo friend at home who was sick, so he had some emergency dangerous stuff, so just bringing it to the front. Just very quickly the context. So the problem statement is that obviously water is a problem for filtering water. 20% of the water gets wasted due to leakages. And so we have a hypothesis that the likelihood of a given pipe bursting depends on both the characteristics of the pipe and the ambient conditions. And our objective was to develop a conceptual approach to predicting the frequency of bursts across the networks. So for the novelty points, we Googled novelty for the definition of being new, original and unusual. So where it's new, we're looking at this from an electrical point of view. So we see a lot of similarities between an electrical network and a water network. So same sort of strategy, planning, forecasting, asset management, control operations and regulation incentives. We have peak losses, non-technical losses and faults, and we measured by customer minutes lost and customer interruptions. Versus water, you have similar kind of outputs but slightly different. We are original, so we've got a Poisson distribution-based regression model. Whether it's original or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, and usually we're an Irishman, Kiwi, Martinique.
Martiniquaise.
Thank you.
Okay, so obviously everyone's been working with a pretty broad data set, the same data set, and that's where we started, as everyone else did. What we looked at as well was the asset and operational information that was key to us, and that was basically from the first remit that we were given from Northumberland Water and the slide deck that we were given. So that was really important. So that's looking at things like geography, weather, mains, soil type, ground heave, asset material and age. Then we also looked at failure modes, and that's a little bit of Googling around the failure modes for your particular asset groups. Also kind of discussing them with some of the staff here locally. Corrosion, ground movement, stressing or cracking, temperature changes, overexpansion, the type of material used, and also the pressure cycling. So relating those 2 parts, we went through each of the data sets that were provided, and we identified which key spreadsheets we would use and build a database from that. So you can see here we filtered out, prioritized particular spreadsheets because we felt we couldn't use all of the data set, put that into a Microsoft Access database, and then move towards a correlation and statistical analysis piece, which Lee Wen's going to discuss now.
Right. So hi, Lee Wen. Without getting too much into the detail, we built a linear regression model. We trained using 60% of the data and then validated against the remaining 40%. So this is a list of the things that appear to matter most to how likely a pipe is to burst. Unplasticized PVC seems to be about 3 times as likely as any of the other types, all other things being equal to burst. And then some of the ground conditions, the various ground conditions seem to make a difference. So we put all this into a linear regression model, and this is a graph that shows the performance of the linear regression model. To cut a long story short, if the red line is above the blue line and it goes very steep, that's good. That means the model's performing really well. So yeah, that's about it. So the other thing just in here, so we haven't shown it, but there's a lot of other things down here which meant pipes are less likely to burst, and those are things that had absolutely no impact on the pipe bursting, so that's all useful information as well. We can give all of that to you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so, right, keep this short and sweet. As I say, it's, this is a...
We're just listening and being excited about it.
Oh, they've already won. You're on the clock.
That's 30 seconds gone already. So yeah, so a big theme that came out of the first day of the sprint, the envisaging, was the need to engage better with our customers, and part of it also is making sure we get good data. So it's when we were hearing from the sprint teams the other day, and they were talking about them wanting to kind of get these good reports, and they talked about the water rangers. And at this point, my ears were lit up, and I thought, oh, okay. And we walked over there this morning, just as they were getting up to come and talk to us. So we're all on the same page here. So what we've got here is the idea of making it really getting barriers down in terms of engaging with customers. So allowing them to use the tools that they use in order to give us the information we need. So we've built a bot. Let's give you a quick demo of it. Let's do it in Facebook Messenger first. Which of course a load of people use chatbots of various kinds. So this is the one we started this at 12 o'clock today. So first of all, it says, you know, which kind of report is it? We're going to go to leakage one, and then it's going to come back. Where is the leak? And we can say send location, and we can. Okay. Got to enable set location. Are you kidding me? All right. Okay, that worked earlier. That's a bit weird. Let's do it on instead on Skype, which does the same thing. Okay, so we go hi. Here we go. And so you're now chatting to a bot here. So yeah, it wants to report a leakage. Where is it? We can type or say an address. There we go. We've got Wheatfield, Seaton, and it gives you a nice little map. Is this the correct address? You say yes. So you're getting good location data out of it. Can you tell the type of ground surface? So we'll say, yeah, it's actually concrete where this is coming through. Is the supply affected? No, it's not. And how long has it been going on? It's a brand new one. So this is nice. And so it goes on. We're getting the information we need, and it's easy accessible. Now the point about all of this, also I'll try this, cross fingers, is a bit, with Microsoft, you're always working on pre-release software, so let's try this.
And just while it's doing that, all of this is the same code, so when we go to all these different channels, it's just the one code base. So regardless of being Skype, Slack, Messenger...
Launch Ripple Ranger. Oh, where's my phone? Where's my hotspot? Okay.
Yeah, I've been having trouble with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the network's bad. So the demo hasn't been spectacular here. Let's go back here.
It's better than it was 5 minutes ago.
So you see, we've implemented Cortana. I need a good network for that. Facebook Messenger and Skype. But the point is that you can add all of these other ones as well. It supports through Bing, Direct Line, which allows an app to kind of communicate directly with it. It supports email, GroupMe, Kick Messenger, Microsoft Teams, Skype for Business, Slack, Telegram, and SMS as well. So we've got a multi-channel, easy of using the tools that people use and getting the information we need. We're getting location, we're getting good data. So this is a kind of trying to open people's minds. And apps can embed this as well. We can actually test it in this is actually a little web window where you are talking to the same thing. So that can be embedded into a website or into an app or something. So very flexible. It's kind of the modern wave of consumer-facing information, conversational UI. So that's what we've got.
I mean, the other thing as well, cross-device, it'll work on iOS, Android, Cortana works on those devices, websites work on that. So there's no native applications here. It's just fully one set of code, and effectively all it is a REST API. That's it.
All right, thank you.
So I'm Alex from the PA consulting team. You've also got Martin, Henry and Wendy. Over the last 4 days we've heard a lot about the context for this leakage hackathon. Over the last 2 days every one of us in this room has seen the need for it in terms of assessing the data. This is a quote from the Director of Water 2020 from Ofwat. So that's the next price review. This is the planning cycle for the water sector, particularly in this case for Northumbrian. And they're saying they'd like every company to try and get 15% below where they currently are, what their current targets are. So whatever your aspirations were previously, they've just upped the bar on you. They're not saying you've got to, but they've just upped it. So what we've done is over the last couple of days, we tried to engage as possible. So So we've spoken with you about what are the things that you would find the most valuable. What are the insights that you really want that's going to actually help you make business decisions? So what we've done is we've focused on 3 key areas, and that's the stories that we'll take you through. So we've got a focus on the DMAs. So in terms of the targeting and the prioritisation, which ones you need to look at. We've got some stuff around learning from your best. So we've also done some performance analysis on some of your field teams. And we've got some stuff around keeping a steady network. So looking at the probability of bursts occurring again repeatedly on the network after you've done interactions on it or based on previous leakages. Just in terms of some of the key stories, I'll just be very brief. But some of the key headlines are, don't fiddle with your network. If you fiddle with it, you're 6 times more likely to cause another burst. In terms of your people, learn from them, because you've got some real classic examples of individuals who are exceptional, and they can really bring up the performance if you use them properly. And then the last one is around the identification and prioritisation. You could actually put yourself ahead of your target if you just focused on 20 DMAs. So I'll let the guys go through it.
So let's dig into the stories in a little bit more detail. So the first one is around prioritization. So I think you have all seen the leakage data. We all know that there's some DMAs that leak much more than other ones. So that's leakage, that's by DMA. We probably have all seen that if you look at aggregated, that it's about top 50 DMAs that account for a third of all your leakages. So there's something going on in some areas of your network. We probably also have seen in the data that over the last 5 years, leakage skyrocketed. I think in total values we're now worse off than in the bad winters of 2011 and 2010. But for me, the really interesting graph is this one, where we plotted the increase in leakage, so percentage increase in leakage between 2012 and 2016. And we plotted the volume of leakage per DMA. So the things up here are your high leakage DMAs, things down here, low leakage DMA. On the right hand side, high growth in leakage. And the really interesting thing for us was, if we just focus on this orange one, on the top 20 DMAs, you can halve your increase. And I don't say reducing, just stopping the increase in these 20 DMAs will halve your overall increase in leakage. And if you focus on the top 50, so these ones here, you have no more increase in leakage in your DMAs. So just 50 areas, 50 places to look at to stop your leakage. Increase leakage.
So to find some really tangible ways of reducing the leakage volume really quickly, we looked at the people, because one of the challenges you highlighted to us was the reducing workforce and the identification of leaks. And so we looked at the performance of the workforce in terms of dry hole percentage, and we saw that's really spread. There are some on this chart who have sort of 10% dry hole, way over the 6% target, and some really exemplar performers around the sort of 4 or 5% mark, beating that 6% target. And we saw that by improving the performance of those outliers through training, coaching, learning from those exemplar performers, that can bring down the average, and that's more real leaks that get found, more leakage that gets stopped.
So can we have maybe 10 more seconds to finish it up?
Go on, take
it. We also look at the correlation between something you find causing a bust. So on the left-hand one, what you see is the complete burst happening within some number of days after a burst happening in the same DMA. So what it shows that when you have a burst in the DMA, you are 3 times more likely to have another burst within the same DMAs. Also, we have to look at the network interactions. What it shows over here is that when you have done a network interactions, you are 6 times more likely to have a burst within 14 days after the interactions. So basically, the message here is that don't try to mess around with network interactions unnecessarily. Thank you.
Okay, so as we've all done, had a look through the data. We focused on we focused on the main theme. So we chose the emergence of leaks and locations, and we did a little bit on trying to crowdsource customer data. There was a couple of things we found as we were kind of playing with the data, one of which was there's a massive spike in the pipes laid in 1930, and the other one was that generally across all types of pipes, your failure rates were a lot higher in the first 10 years and then they kind of tail off. Just a couple of things that we found looking at the data which didn't necessarily feed into the risk models that we produced later on. So in order for us to produce risk models based on the pipes, what we did was we looked back at the historic data of all the historic burst data, the pipe material and pipe age, and then started to map that as a risk. So it's just so what you'll see in the heat map is a risk of the actual pipe bursting. So to give you an idea of the DMAs that will be most affected by bursts in the future. We were going to cover things like adding things like weather, leakage, soil data, geographical altitude, and even stuff like potholes from the traffic point of view, but we didn't actually get around to doing that yet. As I say, what we did was we mapped this as a heat map across the DMAs. So it kind of gives you a flavour of which pipes are going to be the most risk, and then maps those against the DMA model to show you which DMAs are going to be at the most risk. So from a crowdsourcing point of view, what we did was we tied into Twitter. So the idea being that you can actually tweet a leak with a picture to sort of an apt NWG water, and then the idea being if the area you have more tweets in, the higher we'd increase the priority of that area. So let's go and look at that, because we've had 100 tweets in that area, so that's definitely something we can go and look at. We also tied into, just hand one through, we also tied in to the idea that the guys came up with in one of the sprints of the leakage ranger, and the idea being that as a leakage ranger, if you actually tweet hashtag leakage ranger, that would increase the priority of your particular tweet, so that so that the weighting means that if you're in a particular non-urban area, you're not getting overwhelmed. So it should balance itself out. So yeah, that's just one that's come through from a leakage ranger there. So then what we thought was, okay, well, we've got this risk map and we've got this customer data. Well, how does that help the guys on the ground, and can the guys on the ground actually give us any further information on that? So Will's going to quickly take you through some demos we've got around guys being able to actually measure some of the information.
Alright, thanks Phil. This is a Google Tango tablet. Sorry for the prejudice, I don't know what the regulatory rules are on that kind of thing. But, so this is an inbuilt 3D scanner, and we brought it along because there's a lot of possibilities for stuff like assessing material and things like this. And during that demo I actually uploaded a 3D scanner with one of my colleagues earlier. And if you go into the app, Phil, while I'm talking, you might be able to see that 3D scan visualised. That is nowhere near it. Yeah, okay. Let me quickly start this up, and I'll pretend I'm deaf. So this is a bit of crashing. It wouldn't be a real hackathon, wouldn't it, without something breaking the way through. How long until I get multiply? Yeah, never mind.